Zaku Prime is the prime variant of Zaku with increased shield, armor, energy and sprint speed. Zaku Prime was released alongside Trumna Prime and Quasus Prime. Now let's talk about the passive of Zaku, which is 25% damage reduction on AoE attacks and chance to avoid incoming weapon damage. Before moving ahead, I would really appreciate it if you hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. It will keep me motivated and make more awesome contents related to Warframe. Anyways, now let's look at Zaku's abilities. Zata's Whisper. This gives void damage for all attacks from equipped weapons when activated, and this acts as an additional instance of damage. And this is the Helminth ability of Zaku. Grasp of Loke. This ability steals weapons from nearby enemies to use as your own auto-targeting weapon, and the damage output increases based on enemy level. The number of weapons grabbed depends on the range of the Warframe, and at the maximum of 16 weapons can be stolen. The Lost. This ability has 3 types: Accuse, Gaze and Deny. Gaze is an important one among these 3 as it provides armor reduction to the enemies. The Vast Untime. Zaku goes into skeleton form and the enemies damaged by the body sharpener are vulnerable to void damage. At the same time, Zaku's other active abilities duration is also frozen in this state. It also increases their passive abilities of dodge chance and AoE damage reduction to 75% and also grants themselves a 20% movement speed bonus. Now let's compare Zaku and Zaku Prime. As you can see, Zaku Prime has more shield, armor, energy, sprint speed and good fashion frame too. So it's better to get Zaku Prime than the normal Zaku, but you can get normal Zaku to feed the Helminth to use Zata's Whisper on other Warframes. Now let's talk about how to get both Zaku Prime and normal Zaku. Normal Zaku main blueprint can be acquired by completing the quest Heart of Deimos or purchase it from Cephalon Simaris for 50,000 standings. And for the rest of the parts blueprint, you must grind the Cambion Drift bounties of level 15 to 25 for Neuroptics blueprint, level 30 to 40 for Systems blueprint, and level 40 to 60 or level 100 for Chases blueprint. And you must grind for the required items to manufacture Neuroptics systems and Chases. And you need to be rank 5 with the Solaris United or rank 1 with the Vox Solaris to get Gyromax systems, as it is a required item for Chases blueprint. Once you have all the required items, you can craft Zaku parts and get Zaku Warframe. On the other hand, if you want to get Zaku Prime and their parts, you need to farm relics and open them in Void Fisher alert missions, or you can trade it with other players for around 60 to 70 platinums. And you can get the best deal from the Warframe Market. I will leave the link in the description below. And I have already made a video how to get the relics of Zaku Prime and their signature weapons, so feel free to check out the video. So I would recommend you to farm Zaku Prime as it is easy to get and better than the normal Zaku. Now let's talk about Archon shards. I have 2 Tau Forge Ember shard, one for casting speed and one for plus 45% maximum energy filled on the spawn, and 3 Tau Forge Crimson shard for ability strength, but 2 is enough. So before we talk about the builds, let's look at the best Helminth abilities for Zaku. You can use Nourish, Roar, Eclipse, Shooting Gallery and Omomori. Yes, you heard it right. You can swap any of these abilities with the Zata's Whisper or the Lost. But I prefer to swap it with Zata's Whisper as we will need the rest of the abilities. Nourish is one of the best Helminth abilities and it works perfectly with Zaku. It buffs the stolen guns from the enemies and at the same time it helps us with energy. Roar is a great Helminth ability. It increases the weapon and Warframe damage, and you don't even need to use a faction mod like Bane mods if you use Roar. The Eclipse is good for survivability and weapon damage. If you are playing solo, you can use it to damage reduction, and if you are in a squad, then you can use it to deal more damage. I know Zaku already has 75% evasion in skeleton form, but it is also good to have an extra ability for survivability. Shooting Gallery gives a little bit extra damage and jams the nearby enemy's gun. Next, we can also use Omomori. Whenever we take damage, Omomori heals the Warframe and even sometimes replenishes the shield. And in today's build, we are going to use Nourish and Omomori. Let's take a look at the builds. I have two builds, one with the Nourish and one with the Omomori. And in case if you are not going to use any Helminth ability, just copy the Omomori build. Now let's talk about Nourish build. Energy Siphon for 0.6 energy per second. Prime Sure-Footed for 100% chance to resist knockdown. Overextended Stretch and Augur Reach for plus 165% ability range, and 40% of energy spent will converted as shield for Warframe. Blind Rage, Umbral Intensify and Transient Fortitude for plus 198% strength. Prime Continuity for plus 55% ability duration. Rolling Guard for more survivability as it provides invulnerability for 3 seconds and removes all status effects with 7 seconds cooldown. And for the Arcane slots, use Molt Augmented for additional ability strength up to 60% and Molt Efficiency for additional 6% duration per seconds up to a maximum of 36% while shields are active. And this is how the build will look like. Now for the Omomori build, just replace the Blind Rage with Augur Secrets and Rolling Guard with Hamar's Hatred. Rest of the build will be same. This is how the build will look like. In case you don't want to use any Helminth ability, just use the same build. Let's talk about companion for both the builds. For the normal Zaku and Nourish build, use Shade Sentinel or Huraskubro, as these both can make the Warframe invisible if there is an enemy in 24 meter radius. This makes Zaku survive better and deal more damage. And the important thing is, kill enemies only with Warframe abilities, and if you attack enemies with any of the weapons, then it will break the invisibility for a while. And this is the Sentinel build I am using. And I am using Xaku Prime for the Sentinel weapon, and here is the build. For detailed explanation of Shade Prime Sentinel, I have already made a video and link is in the description below. And for the Omomori build, use any companion you want, but I am using Nautilus Prime for grouping and little crowd control. This is the build I am using for Nautilus Prime. And pair it with Xaku Prime as Sentinel weapon. The best thing about Omomori build is you can use your weapons to kill enemies and do not worry about your survivability. Let's talk about weapon synergy. You can use any primary and melee weapons you want. You can even use Zaku's signature weapons. In fact, Xaku Prime has more accuracy of throwing blades with Zaku themselves. And for the secondary weapon, use weapons like Epitaph or Kuanokor to prime the enemies, as it has good synergy with the Sentinel and Warframe 2. For the focus school, you can use any focus school you want. I use Generic for more energy income and Madurai for additional damage. Remember, if you are using normal Zaku build or Nourish build, try to kill high damage dealers like Acolytes, Heat and Jade Eximus units, as they deal lots of damage to the Warframe. Zaku Prime is really a good Warframe in Steel Path and in other high level missions, and the guns stolen from the enemies also scale with the enemy level, which makes Zaku deal more damage in higher level missions too. Anyways, hope this video was helpful, and I would really appreciate it if you hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. It will keep me motivated and make more awesome contents related to Warframes. Thank you guys, and I will see you in the Origin system.